All right, let's dive into something kind of strange, the paradox of mental control. But to really get it, I need you to play along with a quick mental exercise. You ready? Okay, here we go. For the next, say, 10 seconds, I want you to do one simple thing. Whatever you do, do not think of a white bear. Just push it completely out of your head. Don't picture the white fur, the black nose, nothing. Go. I'm going to take a wild guess. There's a big, fuzzy, white bear stomping around in your imagination, isn't there? It's almost impossible to avoid. This simple little paradox is at the very core of why we can't just stop thinking about things. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Now, this isn't just some clever brain teaser. It's a real, documented psychological thing that shows us just how weird our brains can be. It's famously called the white bear problem. The official name for this is ironic process theory, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It means that when you deliberately try to squash a thought, that very act makes the thought more likely to pop right back up. It's a mental boomerang. So what's actually happening in your head? Well, it's kind of like a civil war. You've got two processes battling it out. On one side, there's the controlled process. That's you consciously trying your best, thinking about a blue car, a green tree, your lunch, literally anything but the bear. At the same time, though, there's this sneaky, ironic process running in the background. It's an unconscious little monitor, and its only job is to check, hey, are we thinking about the white bear yet? And here's the paradox. How does it check? It has to keep a little picture of the white bear handy just to know what it's supposed to be looking for. It's a self-sabotaging system. And this isn't just a hunch. The whole white bear idea comes from a classic and, frankly, brilliant experiment back in 1987. The setup was super simple. They had people just talk out loud, saying whatever came into their minds. First, they told them, okay, don't think of a white bear, and if you do, ring this bell. Then, later on, they flipped the script and said, all right, now go ahead and try to think about a white bear. And the results were just wild. The group that first tried not to think about the bear rang that bell all the time. But here's the craziest part. When they were finally allowed to think about it, they thought about it even more than people who were told to think about it from the very beginning. So trying to suppress the thought actually made it stronger later on. That's what's known as the rebound effect. So, okay, who cares about white bears, right? Well, this matters because this mental backfiring happens to us all the time in so many parts of our lives. You know this feeling, lying in bed at 2 a.m. thinking, don't think about being awake. Don't think about being awake, which, of course, keeps you wide awake. Or imagine a pro golfer standing with a putt, and the only thought in their head is don't miss. They become obsessed with the very idea of missing. It happens with trying to ignore pain, trying to forget an embarrassing moment. The more you push, the more it pushes back. So if trying to control our thoughts is so tricky, what does our brain do when we're not trying to do anything at all? When we just let go? Let's take a look at our mind's default setting. The truth is, when we aren't focused on a specific task, our minds don't just power down. They go into this default mode. A massive part of our conscious life is actually happening spontaneously, without our direct control. How much are we talking about? Well, researchers estimate that our minds are wandering for about a third to almost half of our entire waking life. Just think about that. For hours every single day, your brain is just off on its own adventure. This is what we call spontaneous thought. It's the daydreaming, the mind wandering, the random memories that just pop into your head for no reason. This isn't a flaw in the system. It's a fundamental feature. It's what your brain does when it's in neutral. Okay, so is all this mind wandering a good thing or a bad thing? Well, like most things with the brain, the answer is it's complicated. There are some serious upsides, but also some pretty clear downsides. So, on the good side, a wandering mind is actually super useful. It's how we subconsciously keep track of our goals, plan for the future, and even solve tricky problems. You know that aha moment you have in the shower? That's your wandering mind at work. It's also busy connecting old memories and making sense of past experiences. But, of course, there's the flip side. We've all been there, right? You read an entire page of a book and have absolutely no idea what you just read. That's the cost. It hurts our focus. And if our mind wanders to negative stuff, it can really bring down our mood or get us stuck in those awful repetitive thought loops we call rumination. Okay, so if we can't just force thoughts away and letting our mind wander can be risky, what are we supposed to do? Well, the answer is pretty counterintuitive. It's about working with your brain's weird nature, not fighting against it. And this brings us to a really cool technique called paradoxical intention. The idea is wild, but it works. Instead of running away from a thought or fear, you turn around and walk right towards it. You actually try to think the thought or do the thing you're afraid of. This completely disarms that ironic process we talked about earlier. The perfect example is insomnia. A therapist might tell someone who can't sleep, "Tonight, your job is to try and stay awake. Lie in bed, keep your eyes open, and just try to stay awake as long as possible." By taking away the pressure to fall asleep, the anxiety vanishes, and ironically, sleep comes much more easily. You stop fighting the white bear, and it just gets bored and wanders off. Which leaves us with this final kind of mind-bending question. Our brains aren't computers we can just issue commands to. They're these complex, creative, wandering, and often frustratingly ironic things. So maybe, just maybe, the highest form of mental control isn't about clamping down at all. Maybe it's about learning the art of letting go.